The most evil moments on paternity court.
You damn devil, use God.
Devil?
Man,
You're the devil. You're the devil.
You're
realize
crazy.
that you just stood in this court and called your daughter a devil?
At the fountain, I said, "Oh, cute baby, who is she?" She said, "My daughter."
And you giggled?
Yeah.
Why?
I couldn't believe it.
Mr. Hodges is suing for a paternity test because he thinks that his ex-girlfriend cannot be trusted at all.
Mr. Hodges, you and your mom opened your case today because you both say the defendant is a liar and a cheater. You don't believe you fathered her 1-month-old daughter, Lillian Willard, and plan to prove that today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Such strong allegations, right? And here is why Mr. Hodges was claiming all of it.
Mr. Hodges, explain to me why you think Ms. Willard is a liar and a cheater.
She cheated on me and I caught her with multiple guys. She had one hidden in the room.
Found him hiding in the house.
Yes, Your Honor.
Hiding in the house where?
In her mother's bedroom.
But Your Honor,
Did you help hide the other guy in your bedroom
I
when
did.
Mr. Hodges came?
They had broke
So
up
why you have to hide anybody?
because she didn't want him to know. She didn't want to hurt him. She didn't want to start no trouble.
Well, we was engaged.
Yikes, bad call. Wait, there's more.
We were engaged.
So you were engaged, Miss Willard?
Yes, ma'am.
Now that makes more sense. When your fiance came in the house, then you hid this other guy in the...
Because I didn't want to fight to start.
And Your Honor, she was
What?
already married when they got engaged that my son didn't know about.
So you were engaged to Mr. Hodges, but you were married to another guy at the time?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who can pull such a stunt off? Apparently, Miss Willard.
I thought she was sneaky. She always kept her phone on her. She never let him get a hold of it. And when she was on it and he would come around, she would hide it. I've had messages from a guy that she was seeing while she was seeing my son.
Ms. Blevins says, I do understand my son was engaged to her and caught her cheating. The other man says, we got together on June 2nd of last year. Ms. Blevins, you say, let me check the dates, give me a minute.
Yes.
However, the Willards defended their sleeves like this.
This man and Mr. Hodges at the same time.
No, Your Honor.
So why is this man saying this? He's giving all these specific details to Ms. Blevins.
Your Honor, he's saying that. He's saying that because he wants my daughter. When she
Is
was-
Lillian your only child?
No, Your Honor, she hid that from us too at first.
Hiding the other child's existence. The plot thickens.
Back it up, back it up. So she hid that she had a husband before she met you, and you were engaged to her when she really already had a husband. She hid that she had had a child, and she also hid a man in her mother's house when you came over.
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, who can possibly think of going that far, man?
The day you found out Miss Willard was pregnant.
She called me and she said that she was 8 months pregnant and...
8 months.
Yes, ma'am.
And you write back, Ms. Willard, I don't know, Doc is showing me a different due date. So if that's the case, that was on May 27th at 8:25 a.m. And Lillian was born on what day?
May the 23rd.
Sir.
Ms. Willard, this is too much lying.
I know.
This is just too much lying.
Yeah, too much lying indeed. It's gotten to the level of being evil, ain't it?
Now, I heard about 5 lies already. What is going on? Why are you texting him like the baby isn't born when the baby is born?
Okay, he's married now, and I just didn't want to break up a marriage when he found out he had a kid by another person.
But you told him, I'm pregnant. So what is this about breaking up a marriage? You'd already told him you were pregnant.
Because I was with the other guy, and I thought I was going to keep living with him, but we broke up.
Oh, now it makes sense.
The man who supposedly is her biological father to be present for the birth or at least know she's in the world. I'm not just being hard on you. I'm trying to uncover what's going on because it is your fault, but I want to know why. Why are you lying? What's the lie about? Was it because you wanted to be with the other guy so you didn't want Mr. Hodges up there?
No, that's not mine.
Well, we have only one way to deal with all the manipulation. Let's get to that.
In the case of Hodges versus Willard, when it comes to 1-month-old Lillian Willard, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Hodges, you are the father.
Miss Jones has dragged her father to paternity court to set the record for herself and the other two siblings straight.
Miss Jones, you claim your father, Mr. Jones, doubts paternity of you and 2 other possible siblings. Now, Mr. Jones, you argue you were a rock star, running around with many different women and have reason to doubt all 3 children are yours.
See, even these startup testimonies tell that things are about to get messy.
Now, Ms. Jones, why is it so important for you to prove paternity?
I feel that it's a spit in my face and a disrespect to me and my mother. Because I'm 37 years old. So all of a sudden, 37 years later, you need a test. When all the children that he had in his lifetime, my mother was the only one he was married to. And I think it's a joke.
Sir Victor, on the other hand, expressed his reservations in this manner.
I have doubt because I just never had paternity tests done on none of them. And for her mom, she had a male associate that was always over their house.
He's denying paternity. What do you...
He told him he needed a DNA test in order to leave his kids in the will. He ought to be ashamed of himself, all these kids with all these different women.
That does sound about right.
His 60s, and he's catching you. All of a sudden, you got the case of morality, and you want to see, you hoping that some of these kids are not yours, so you won't feel bad about not being there. Just say what it is. You know what I mean? That's all it is in my eyes, and I think it's an ultimate disrespect.
After listening to this judge say what I had been wondering from the start of the trial.
How many other possible children do you have?
Your Honor, I might have 7 kids by 7 different women.
Friend who she's also married to. But see, her stepfather is a very nice man. They sent her to Texas, and I brought her to have to chew him out to come see us because he was about to haul
So, Mr. Jones, is this true? You didn't take any time to spend with children? You haven't even met Mr. Edwin?
Well, that will take a lot of testing.
We have 2 other adults that are here that claim that they may be his children as well. We have Mr. Edwin, who's 29, and he's never met you, but he may be your son.
Maybe my son, yeah.
And we have Miss Hobson, who's 24, and she's only seen you 1 time.
It was high time that Judge Lake got her high brow with Mr. Brown. And she did.
Children, you haven't even met Mr. Edwin. What is that about?
He was running behind my mama.
I stay on the road. I stayed in the band most of my adult years traveling.
Dad, you are not Quincy Jones. Quit saying that. You've been saying that for years.
Oh, Mr. Jones, you have 2 other adults that are outside this courtroom. Miss Hobson and Mr. Edwin, and you're not sure if they're yours either.
No, I'm not sure.
That's disgusting. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. All you did, Dad, you was up.
I didn't know
Before
they were
we
related.
get to all that, I want to bring Mr. Edwin in.
The young man told the judge he only knew the name of his father, while Miss Hobson recollected meeting him once.
This is the first time you've ever met or seen this man that could potentially be your father.
Correct. We made that phone call. That was the first time I ever heard his voice. That was the first time I ever knew about it.
And how old were you?
Probably around this time, 9.
Mr. Jones, do you remember getting this call?
Yes, ma'am.
I feel sorry for these young people. They had to pay for their parents' mistakes. So, let's wrap it.
To hear the result so that we can know once and for all whether you all are or are not Mr. Jones's children. When it comes to the paternity of 29-year-old Mr. Clayton Edwin, Mr. Jones, you are his father.
But let's not end without some good insight from Judge Lake.
You stood here and expressed your doubt. And in some instances, I could almost understand why a man that was a rolling stone, and we'll leave it like that, like you were never in one place to understand what was going on. But ultimately, I need you to understand who lost.
They lost throughout the year because I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
Exactly.
Miss Myers has 13 potential fathers on her list, and she has brought her mother to court in search of real answers.
Say your mother gave you a list of 13 possible men, and you are hoping to determine who your father is today. The court has located 2 of the 13 men and has already ordered paternity tests.
The young lady started her search for her father like this.
When I was 13 years old, I had a father figure in my life, and he died at that age.
How did you find out there were potentially 13 different men that could be your father?
The list came from my mom telling me over approximately a year, maybe a little longer. I think to her it seemed like it was a joke.
However, I had this to say about the uncomfortable list.
The 13 that she's named is like 13 ghosts. Fabricated. She thinks that's what it is.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When you're to a point
it
where
could be
you're
this guy right
being
here.
Raised,
yeah,
see?
really.
See?
Ms. Myers.
Oh, poor Jerome. Please, Samantha, leave him out.
You claim that you left home when you were 15 years old.
Yeah, I did.
Why is that?
I didn't want to be around her. I
You
want to
didn't
be
get
under her.
along to this degree even when you were 15 years old?
It's even worse than this. The only reason why I'm even somewhat civil with her is because be close to my mom, and I wanted to be right with God. So therefore, for God, she won't even
That's
allow.
a good one. Use God. You damn devil. Use God.
Devil, man. You're the devil. You're the devil.
You
You're
realize
crazy.
that you just stood in this court and called your daughter a devil?
What kind of mother does that? Come on.
You feel like all your life, the way it has turned out, is this all because you didn't have that father in your life that you wanted, or
I
who your
feel like
father
I
is?
didn't have a mother, and I felt like I didn't have a father.
You gotta understand, I didn't have to have you. I chose to have you.
There were multiple partners at the time that Ms. Myers was
Of course,
conceived.
but you gotta realize I was 17. So any calculation within that time, I could have been way off and not known. Because by the time I found out, I was 4 months pregnant with her.
After this, the first potential father was brought into the courtroom.
Thank you for coming to join us and submitting to the paternity testing. I want to ask you first, you do know Ms. Myers' mom, Ms. Madrigal.
Yes, I did.
How did you find out that Ms. Madrigal was pregnant?
I did not know she was pregnant, Your Honor. I'm walking downtown Seattle where I see her and the baby at the fountain. I said, oh, cute baby, who is she? She said, my daughter.
And you giggled?
Yeah.
Why?
I couldn't believe it, 3 minutes. I understand it doesn't take that.
Next, we found out how Mr. McCraney's family blamed poor Myers for the awkward situation.
Oh yeah, well, is this person my dad and blah blah blah.
I did that because I wanted people
but
to
if,
see.
if he's such a bad guy, but if he's such a bad guy, then why would you even
I don't want
put him on
nothing to do
Facebook
with
and
it
say, oh yeah, well, is he my
because I don't want to
dad?
expose him of what he really
But you
is.
did
So
expose
therefore,
him.
What is
yes,
But you
that?
did expose him on
And what is
Facebook
that
to a
besides a good
stranger.
father?
You're
Besides
the
a good
father. You weren't
father.
even in Carmen's life.
Let's get
I
to
don't
the
want
fact.
me like I'm the one that was laying down sleeping with people. I'm the one that was made.
But Myers still could help to be sympathetic toward her.
No, you're not my
Nobody
daddy.
else
You ain't my
thinks.
mama.
You
You
can
ain't been my
save
mama or
it.
my
You can
daddy.
save it. You
So
can tell
I'm
these
not
people
hearing
what you
it.
want. They don't live in my shoes. I raised you and I raised you right. So all this other doesn't
you
even
didn't.
matter. I would die for you, so stop the rest.
Mr. McCraney is not the man that you would like to be your father ultimately.
No.
Now, it was time for the other potential father to enter the courtroom.
Mr. Smith, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good,
Thank
Judge.
you for joining us. We're really glad that you could be here today, and we appreciate you submitting to the DNA testing because this court realizes that here today that we've identified that could potentially be Ms. Myers' father. And you do know that there still could potentially be 11 more per Ms. Myers' statement. Maybe that one of these two gentlemen could be your father.
Now, let's get to the most awaited results.
Miss Monica Myers, Mr. Keith McCraney, it has been determined by this court you are the father.
There it is.
That family has rejected me so much that there's no rekindling the pain they've caused for me. I don't deserve none of this. I didn't deserve it from the jump.
After 2 years of fatherhood, certain revelations have led Mr. Jordan to Judge Lake's courtroom.
Mr. Jordan, you claim the defendant tricked you into signing her daughter's birth certificate and being a daddy. But 2 years later, you were told that another man is her biological father. You opened your case because you want DNA proof you are not the father so you can get your name removed from the birth certificate. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Lake was a little curious about the tricked part, so she started with it.
Mr. Jordan, you say Ms. Heim tricked you?
Yes. She tricked me into thinking that I was a father. She tricked me into thinking that Caitlin was my first daughter.
You believe she was intentionally deceitful?
Yes.
And what was her motive?
You know what? I think her only motive was that she was able to get away with it, honestly. Because at the end of the day, I think that she had the advantage as far as to having a dad that could take care and provide for Caitlin. Because I was there since day one.
While Miss Heim responded to the accusations in this way.
Yeah.
Were you being deceitful, Ms. Heim?
No, ma'am. He's a great father, and I only had sex with one man when we were together, and I had sex with him one time, but we've been messing around for 7 years, and I never became pregnant. I met Chris, and all of a sudden I came pregnant, so I know Chris is the father.
She further added this to her testimony.
And everything about that, and I just came today to show everybody on the street, his family members, my family members, that he's the father, and I'm tired of it.
Because it is upsetting you.
Yes.
Things had escalated to the part of Caitlin asking if her father loved her or not.
Does my dad still love her? That hurt me so bad.
She asked you, does my daddy still love me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, if I will, there's never been a moment where Caitlin and I have been around each other and she feels like I love her less than or anything like that. Like, I love that little girl.
If things were this good, what turned everything upside down?
And so how does it go wrong?
This is where it goes wrong. Her and the family member gets into like an altercation or whatnot, like an argument. It wasn't even an altercation, it was an argument. And it was like they started like throwing dirt on each other, you know what I mean? So she said something about this family member's in front of this family member's boyfriend or whatever. So the family member turned around and was like, well, why you ain't told Chris that he's not Caitlin's dad?
The alleged baby daddy even brought evidence to back up his claims.
Caitlin's 2 years old. You think you have a daughter and the perfect girl, you got a good life.
I actually have evidence.
Oh, let me see that.
I mean, I don't like to say people look alike, but I'm like, yo, it's a lot of resemblance.
After this, a lot of true colors of the deceptive mommy started coming up.
Your Honor, I object. My thing is, what your family members got to do with my daughter on another man's lap?
Right, that's what I want to know.
I didn't say.
How did she get over there? Did you take her over there?
That time I did on that couch.
That time? So it's been more than one time?
No, that was the only one.
Your Honor, I object.
I also object, sir. And the judge was not liking the situation now either.
What the deal is. I need to know what's going on. She's old enough to know. Who does she think her father is, Mr. Jordan or Santavius?
Chris.
Have you ever told Mr. Santavius Knight, this gentleman here, that he is her biological father?
All I said was that I was pregnant when I first found out I was pregnant. I did not say it was his child.
Now there was only one way to clear things up. Let's call the other baby daddy into the courtroom.
There are pictures of you with Caitlin where you put in a caption that this is me and my baby Kate. Do you believe Caitlin is your daughter?
Yes, that's my baby. She told me when she got pregnant, she like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, what you telling me for? She like, well, it's not Chris, cause me and Chris been together a year and a half, and we ain't got pregnant. Soon you touch me, I get pregnant.
No, he's lying.
Oh, those are some web of lies, aren't they?
She let somebody sign the birth certificate, but she's gonna fix it when you get home.
Yeah.
Miss High, what kind of game you running?
I ain't running no game.
Good game.
Fact. Christopher is the father of Caitlin, because I'm tired of this. I'm tired of my family.
But you sleeping with him.
Wow, sleeping with
So why did you tell Mr. Knight he was the biological father?
I did not. I said I was pregnant.
I don't know about you, but I've had enough of this woman. Let's move to the results.
You're just so tired of this, and you just want it to be over, and you're just tired of going through this. What is the smirk? What is behind your eyes? What are you feeling? Is the father of the child Caitlin Jordan? It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Jordan.
The Boleyjacks are back at Judge Lake's courtroom with a paternity dispute.
Ms. Boleyjack, you and your mother recently appeared in court to help resolve a paternity dispute for your sister. This motivated you to get the answers you've desperately been searching for 3 decades. Your mother has always told you the defendant, Mr. Smith, is your biological father, and you hope today's results prove she's right.
Ms. Common was pretty sure that Mr. Smith was the biological father of her daughter at the podium.
Ms. Common?
Yes, Your Honor.
This has been very difficult for your daughter.
Yes.
But you are certain Mr. Smith is her biological father?
I'm absolutely sure, Your Honor.
And growing up telling her this, but her saying she doesn't know, she's not certain.
Well, the only reason that she's not certain that Robert is her father is because he'd never been around.
And when he tried to pull Ms. Common's past, he got this fact slapped in the face.
She was out there living the life.
Hold up, baby. I was not out there living the life. When me and you were together, baby, it was just me and you. It was like summer love. It was just me and you. We was together. It was summer love, baby. It was me and you. It wasn't no, I was out there. And you know the reason I left you. I left you because you were the one out there hoeing around.
But still, there was a possibility of another father in the picture.
And I told him that he was the father because he was much older and he was much responsible for taking care of her. But there's a possibility that he's the father too.
Oh, so you're saying right now that there is a possibility that someone else is your daughter's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because at the time when it was summer love with Mr. Smith,
I was still going back to my ex.
Nonetheless, Miss Common herself testified that she didn't tell Mr. Smith about the pregnancy.
When she was first born, I never told him until she was like a year old. Well, I went back over to my old hood where he lives at, and I went over there to see a friend, and I ran right into him, and I told him, like, you know you got a baby. And he was like, what? Who is she? And who is she with? And stuff like that. And he was acting like he was so excited about the baby. That's how come I don't understand why he's knuckling up now.
However, what Miss Bully-Jacks told the court next made us despise Mr. Smith for a moment.
He called the phone. He told me that he was my father. When I spoke to him when I was 12, he told me he was my father. He gave me a phone number that I can contact him back on. 2 days later, I tried to contact him. The phone was disconnected. So everything that's going on today is just like, it's so many inconsistent stories from both parties.
She further expressed herself like this.
You sent me off. You gave me a number that was disconnected that I could not contact you back on. I never heard from you again until I took initiative to find you. You never took initiative to look for me, to look for my mom, even in that matter.
And how did that make you feel?
Hurt, angry, disgusted.
After this, Miss Common stepped in and told the court that it made our hearts hurt for the young woman too.
She ain't my daughter. No, don't sit up there and don't try to throw me under the bus. Because I wasn't in her life either, Your Honor. So I didn't have a relationship with her, so she didn't have her mother or her father in her life. You know, years down the line, the Lord delivered me. He delivered me off of drugs. I went to treatment and stuff like that, and I've been in her life ever since, and I helped her raise her kids.
Yeah, amen to that. Now, let's get to the results.
In the case of Common versus Smith, when it comes to 29-year-old Lorraine Bully-Jack, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Smith, you are not the father.